We're an island nation, drawn to the sea that surrounds us. For many, it's a playground. For others, it's where we earn our living. But the sea's unpredictable. It can change in an instant. And when accidents happen, they happen very fast.
On the sea, you have to expect the unexpected. It will just turn around and bite you.
Mayday! Mayday! Help!
There to save our lives is a volunteer army of nearly 5,000 ordinary people.
When the pager goes off, we don't know what the shout is, where it is, how many people are involved. It could be anything.
Where do you feel the pain, Alex?
My back and my leg and my neck.
Stuart, just hold the boat!
I am so thankful that they came.
Things could have turned out to be a lot worse.
I've had people drown in front of me. Before we've got there, that person's gone.
Calm down, you're okay, pal.
Equipped with their own cameras,
My light flashing. Yeah, mine.
the crews give us a unique insight into every call-out as only they see it. Speeding through the roughest weather, searching for people who may only have moments to live.
Go!
For those who risk their lives, it has become a way of life.
The decisions we make on a lifeboat, it can all mean the difference between life or death.
Surrounded by the sea, Britain's industrial, social and cultural identity has a long maritime tradition. On the south coast of England, Brighton, once a small fishing village, is today a bustling seaside city, complete with pier, marina, and since 1979, a band of lifeboat volunteers, ready to put to sea in all weathers.
So we're doing a little bit on throwing lines tonight. If we were throwing this line for a service, the line needs to go down flush, side by side.
We are such a close-knit team at Brighton, it's unreal. All of my class is my second family. I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest.
So just give it a try. It's going to be. This lifeboat station, for me, is my second home, and it probably is for quite a lot of people. We've had couples meet on this station and are actually happily married now. It's actually quite common around the coast, really common.
There's quite a close bond between the crew, I think because we go through some sort of testing situations together.
For crew member Mark, who's been with the Brighton station for 20 years, volunteering is even more of a family affair.
I'm nearly ready to go.
It's there he met his wife, Phoenix, who was a crew member at the time.
The lifeboat's been very sort of integral in our family. The kids have been down to the lifeboat, which is great. Certainly changed my direction in life for the better.
Mark answers the pager's call up to 30 times a year.
I don't worry about Mark when the pager goes off. I know what it's like being part of a crew and the decisions you make together. And the first rule is you don't become a casualty.
A breezy morning in early May. The crew receive a call from the Coast Guard.
The initial information we had was that there was a yacht who'd lost engine power on passage from Portsmouth heading towards Brighton. So at that point it seemed like quite a routine shout.
All my crew are my responsibility. You're in command of the boat, so you know that if anything does go wrong, the eyes are going to be focused on you. You've got to think of what you think's right at the moment in time for yourself and your crew to all come back in one piece.
Outside the marina, 30-mile-an-hour winds have whipped up a 10-foot swell.
It's well in the limits of the Atlantic 85 lifeboat. I've done shouts and a lot worse, especially in towing.
Just 500 metres from the shore, the stricken yacht has lost engine power. And the wind is blowing it directly towards the beach.
At that point we realised that we had a bit of a problem developing. The area that they were heading into was potentially dangerous, where the breaking waves kind of get reflected back off the marina wall. We call it the washing machine. There's quite a disturbed bit of sea there.
The only way to save the yacht from being wrecked on the shore is to tow it away from the beach.
Brighton.
After sailing through the night, the single crew member on board is exhausted. Helm Dan decides to commit one of his own crew to help.
It was quite tricky getting on board. We had a few attempts at it because there was a sort of a gap opening up between the boats with the waves that we were in.
Fighting the swell, Dan must time his approach perfectly between the 10-foot waves to get Mark aboard safely.
Building wave behind it, now or never.
I sort of bundled unglamorously on board.
We need a tow line set up ASAP.
Right. Just thought to myself, it's just a normal tow job with throw line to Mark, and it'd be fine. Not knowing that a squally was sort of coming through, which was just a lot more heavy wind. The waves were building, and we were just getting pushed towards the marina and the washing machine very fast.
As the conditions deteriorate, the crew have just a few minutes to get a tow line attached before the yacht is swept onto the shore.
Yeah, mate.
Dan was trying to keep the lifeboat the right way up and approach us on the yacht in an aspect where they could pass the line, which was quite a tricky thing to do.
Riding the swell, Dan must get in close enough to get a line across.
It's very daunting when you see a big yacht with a mast on right up 3 meters in front of you, and you're the little boat down there thinking, I hope this all goes right.
Find it. Breaking way! Large wave.
The yacht hit the lifeboat on the hull quite hard, which is when I updated the Coast Guard and said to them that we've taken on some damage. I'm not aware that we're sinking or taking on water.
We need to get this line over. We're going to build on the beach.
As they battle to get a tow established, the yacht is now just 20 meters from the shore, every wave pushing it closer.
I think that was the start of when it really sort of turned serious. I was expecting the keel to touch at any time. We can't have had very much water underneath us. One of the main dangers once you're in the surf is that we could be washed off the boat could ground, and at that point there's a possibility that the boat could be washed on top of one of us and crush us. My plan would have been to get us both as far away from that boat as possible.
Go, now, John. Hold on. Stand, mate. Hold on, I'm not ready.
Every time the lads went to throw the line on, we'd get knocked by a wave, or the yacht would.
Go, Jay, go. Got it?
Mark grabbed it, and then as he went to make it off, a big set of 3 waves come through. I just thought straight away, either the yacht is going over or people are going to be in the water.
Lost the line. He's lost the line.
The second wave that comes through and struck him, the yacht went 90 degrees, pretty much side onto the water, which is the wave that actually knocked the line out of Mark's hand. So we totally lost the line.
Breaking wave. Whoa! We gotta get away. We're on the wrong side.
In the 12 minutes the crew have battled to get a line across, they've been pushed just a few meters from the shore. Dan must weigh up the risk to his own crew of another attempt to save the yacht.
I think this could be too late, lads. What do you want to do, mate? I'm more or less ready.
I knew that he was going to hit the bottom within seconds, and I even said to the boys on the boat, this is our last attempt. I didn't want to risk it anymore. We would have been the next people hitting the bottom.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Dan makes one last approach.
Someone must have been looking down on us, because for 5 to 10 seconds, the waves had just stopped and we was able to throw a tow line to him.
Boys are stacked then, yeah.
I think it was pretty much our last chance, that run-in that they had, so I was very glad to kind of get that on board and get it made off.
Now they've established a tow, the lifeboat must try and drag the 5-ton dead weight of the yacht out of the surf.
We were taking a bit of a pounding at that point.
Ooh.
It did feel pretty relentless. You get one wave after another, and you feel like you're just recovering from one wave, and then you're looking at the next, thinking, oh God.
The winds now, which have gone up to a force 6, and the tide was getting stronger and heavier as well. I've potentially got damage to my own lifeboat, and I wasn't sure on how Mark was on the yacht, because he had taken quite a big hit as well.
Do you require any assistance? We need them, mate.
After 15 minutes trying to fight their way out of danger, the crew call in backup from neighbouring lifeboat station Shoreham, 7 miles away.
We have Shoreham lifeboat coming to your location.
All the Brighton crew can do is try to inch the yacht out of danger until the bigger, more powerful boat based at Shoreham arrives to help.
The yacht that I was on probably weighs about 5 tons, so in the breaking waves that puts massive strain on the line. I could see the strain the line was under. I felt a little bit vulnerable sitting in right in line with it. I had my visor down just in case it did part, because when it does part, it parts with quite a lot of recoil.
Light away! Light away!
Mark's worst fears are realised. The tow line snaps. The crew are back to square one. And even at top speed, the larger Shoreham boat is still several minutes away.
I can only think what the helmsman of the Brighton lifeboat was thinking. He's in a bit of a position, he's towing this yacht, which wasn't the easiest of tows in those conditions, and he's unsure of the condition of his crew member on the yacht. I should think it was a very tough situation to be in.
Our radio, approximately 5 minutes. We have just come past 3 parts of Brighton here now. This is Circus. Draw the 5 minutes out, Mark! 5 minutes out!
I think that the adrenaline was certainly flowing. We'd all taken a bit of a pounding.
Slow ahead, slow ahead.
I probably never wanted another lifeboat to be alongside me so much. I just wanted to get my 2 crew, which we were all battered, including myself, just drained, exhausted, couldn't believe what happened. The adrenaline was wearing off. And I just wanted to get everyone home, including myself. I just wanted to get home by then and just sort of reflect on actually what had happened.
The Brighton crew have been fighting the conditions for nearly an hour by the time Shoreham arrived to take over the tow.
Move! Let go the line!
As the Shoreham crew establish a new tow, Brighton make their way back to base without Mark.
You're all right, mate? Yeah. Half mile out. I think Mark's all right.
I was shaking like a leaf by the end of it. I was very scared of what actually just happened, and yeah, I think it was the shock that was hitting as well.
Well done, boys. We're nearly home.
I handed my 2 crew over straight away to the paramedics, wanted to get them checked over, as Dickon was in a lot of pain from his ribs, so he was my main priority first.
One point, I thought we wasn't going to be coming home. I've got to be honest with you. To think for the first time, being part of the crew, that maybe as a crew we don't come home or we lose someone, yeah, it hit home a bit.
Gotta take my helmet off.
We saw the yacht coming in, put alongside safely, and Mark made his way into the station where he said the quote was, "Well, that was a bit sporting, wasn't it?" And we all sort of looked at him and smiled. We knew that we were all in a really dangerous position and we might not have been going home that night.
The yacht and the sailor survived unscathed. The Brighton crew escaped with bruises and 1 broken rib between them.
I think we were lucky on this shout that it wasn't worse. You know, I think we were in quite a precarious situation, and we got away with it.
Whether it's guarding the sandy beaches of Cornwall, the flats of East Anglia, or the craggy cliffs of the Shetlands, at any time there are over 5,000 yellow-booted volunteers willing to drop everything to save the lives of others. Keeping watch over nearly 2,000 miles of Irish coastline are 42 lifeboat stations. For over 190 years, a lifeboat has protected the waters of Howth, a picturesque coastal community 9 miles from Dublin, on the edge of the city's busy shipping lanes.
Howth is an amazing village. It's only 20 minutes from Dublin, 20 minutes from the airport, but has kept its true roots as a proper little fishing village with a little fishing community. Amazing place, yeah. I couldn't think of a better place to live in the world.
Good quality lobster.
Yeah. For lifeboat volunteer Declan, whose family have lived in Howth for generations, the sea is a way of life.
Our family home is 5 metres from the sea. And we just grew up. My dad took us sailing all the time. You see all the fishermen, you get to know the fishermen, you're going out in their boats for a quick spin. You're just always beside the sea in Howth.
Just a stone's throw from the lifeboat station, Declan is head chef at the family business.
Coming in, chef, 1 scallops, 1 mackerel.
A seafood restaurant he runs with his wife, Sue.
We have our first baby on the way, due on the 5th of July. And we found out it's a boy, so we're both very excited. Looking forward to it. He'll be in Lifeboat Luke. Working on the lifeboat when he's older, and a chef, of course.
Running a busy restaurant alongside lifeboat duty means the rest of the team are used to Declan dropping everything when the pager goes off.
You're on my deck, you're cooking away. It's deck, where's my burger? Oh, he's gone.
What's good being here when the beeper goes off is that I can see where the boat is going, right outside the restaurant. I think it's exciting. I'm proud of him.
A warm but windy July evening. A family have called the Coast Guard from a local beach. A 14-year-old girl out alone in a sailing dinghy is in trouble.
When the pager went off, I was in work. I just went into overdrive, adrenaline in, legged it over to the station. The other 2 were in the boat already, so I just jumped in the boat.
Okay, Dad, when you're ready.
Yeah, I do. And we started heading out of the harbour, trying to get as much information on the casualty as we could.
Update, our rough position will be 53 degrees.
The Howth team pushed their D-class lifeboat to its top speed of 25 knots.
The weather on that particular day was a northwesterly breeze, which in that location was blowing people off the shore. They could be blown away from the land, and where we are, it's quite a long distance until you reach land again. They'd be kind of stopping at Holyhead would be their next port of call.
To make matters worse, the wind could also be blowing the girl towards the busy Dublin shipping lanes.
Those big boats, they take a while to slow down and take a while to change course, so it's not a place that I think anyone would want to find themselves in.
That's the only I can see is off the bow.
Hampered by the glare of the sun, the crew scan the horizon, searching for the girl.
The main worry for me was the time. It was late in the evening and the sun was going down. I know when we were going out, I was thinking, God, I hope we don't have to end up making a search pattern or try to find these people. Hopefully they're where they said they were. It's the last thing you want to be doing is that sort of thing at night. You want to try use that light as much as possible. I'd definitely rather have the glare on the water than to have the darkness.
As the minutes tick by, concern for the casualty mounts.
The thing about dinghies is they're quite labour intensive. There's a lot of work. It's basically your body weight fighting the sail. So they can be quite tiring, and if they do capsize, you can end up in the water, and if you just don't have the strength or you're too tired maybe to get them back upright, you could have someone in the water that's exhausted, and it turns into a very serious situation then.
1 minute you're just having a lovely sail, and then it's a realisation that without this boat, I'm just a fish that can't really swim.
As the crew search, back on shore, the girl's father is watching powerless as his 14-year-old daughter, Caoimhe, is blown out to sea.
As her dad, looking out of her, I felt very helpless. Apart from calling the lifeguard, there's very little I could do. As a parent, you would go out and do what you can straight away, but you're in a situation where you physically can't get there. In Quiva would have felt very scared out there. You know, it's a big bad sea when you're out. There's a long way to get back in, and of course it's going to be very, very scary.
There's you go. It looks like they're in control. You tell us when we're on scene and give an update shortly. Yeah.
9 minutes after launching, up ahead the crew spot a group of boats a mile offshore.
How you doing? What's the story?
In an attempt to rescue her, Quiva's grandfather and a lifeguard have arrived from the beach. Despite their efforts, all three are now struggling to get to safety.
The first boat had its sail up and it was trying to tow the other two, and unfortunately just with the weight it was just making no headway whatsoever.
Are you warm enough? Are you okay? Okay, I'm gonna come to the windward side of you. If you just keep sailing the course you're going.
The crew now have 3 people that need help getting back to shore, but their main concern is Quiva.
It was quite clear from the off that the young girl was very cold. She was shivering and quite upset. So immediately our priority turned to help her. She stuck out in my mind as being someone that was particularly vulnerable and in trouble and needed help.
One casualty, she's a bit cold, possible hypothermia, and very upset.
Now Quiva's safely in the lifeboat. Her grandfather Charles can navigate his own way back to shore.
Well, my first reaction when the lifeboat arrived was one of relief that at least now it wasn't all my responsibility. Quiva was getting colder and less happy. Just wanted to curl up in a ball and get back in her daddy's arms.
We're going to get you in. Is your dad on the beach or where is he?
Yeah.
Okay, well, don't worry. As soon as you're in, you'll be all right. Are you cold? Yeah. Okay. How long have you been out for?
I think once she was in our boat, I think probably the gravity of the situation probably hit her a bit more. Now that the lifeboat's there and all that. So at that stage, she just wanted to see her dad. And that was it. So that was kind of turned into our priority to get her ashore and to her dad.
It's no one's fault, don't worry about it. These things happen.
14-year-old Quiva had been trying out a new dinghy, but a problem with the sail meant that every time she tried to steer for the beach, she capsized.
I was very anxious because I had no control. I couldn't control what my boat was doing. The wind started to change. I couldn't control the wind. I couldn't control the boat's capsizing. I couldn't control anything. I was very scared, and I kind of thought, oh my God, is this my fault?
Just throw that in your head there, right?
By the third time I capsized, I couldn't get it back up because my arms kind of felt like jelly. You know, once you lift a boat up a couple times, you're exhausted. I was pretty petrified for a while.
Yeah, we're gonna go sailing again. Yeah. So that's a spirit. Yeah, that's it. You're a yachty, you'll live.
The sea can be a very scary place, particularly for a young girl. Somebody that's trying to learn sailing and learn everything. If the weather isn't what you thought it was going to be, or you've set yourself up for a particular scenario and then all of a sudden it changes, it can be a very, very daunting experience. And if you're not ready for it, it can certainly catch you out and be very, very dangerous.
Everything's going to be okay. Don't worry about it, all right?
Biggest place in the world when it goes wrong. Everything seems so far away. It's quite scary.
Will you do me a favour? You wrap this around you?
Nobody is immune to getting into difficulty at sea. Some of the most experienced sailors that I know have all been rescued, and I suppose it's if you spend that much time at sea, you do get caught out.
What's your dad's name? Ed, okay.
I know it was a traumatic experience for the family, particularly for Quiva, who was at the centre of it, and for her father, who was alone on the shore while all this was happening.
Go home, get some nice hot chocolate, and everything will be fine.
And it's just given us an extra sense that we need to prepare well for events and to be ready to call for help whenever it's necessary.
Thank you.
See, your granddad's here now. It's all right. You all right?
Without the added strain of towing a second dinghy, Quiva's grandfather Charles also makes it safely back to shore.
We're going to get an ambulance down.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's on the way. Just make sure she's all right, because I don't want to make it be cold or anything.
If they hadn't called us, I don't think they would have made it back to the beach, and we could have been dealing with a family who had possibly lost a granddad and a daughter.
After putting her family through 2 hours of worry, Caoimhe is finally reunited with her father.
It was a relief because I really wanted to see my dad after so long, because I was scared and I was cold and I didn't know what was wrong. But it was an experience that made me upset. You know, I didn't have one of my parents with me. So yeah, I wanted my dad.
She was a little shaken and a little teary, but it was great, you know. She was able to walk to us and give her a hug, and she was happy.
You did really, really well. You did what you were supposed to do, right? What you tried to do. You relaxed.
You could see in his face how relieved he was that his daughter was back, and you could tell from her demeanour that she was relieved to be in her dad's arms. Very nice feeling, very rewarding.
For the lifeboat crews, saving loved ones from the sea often means leaving their own family behind.
I do feel a bit more scared, I guess, because you think, oh, it's not just me he's leaving behind at the house, it's Lottie as well, and it's her dad running away and going to save someone else.
There we go.
If you get worried every single time that pager goes off, it'd be an absolute nightmare. I'd be like, that's it, you're not doing this anymore.
When that pager goes off, at the end of the day, it's having trust in all your crew and your helm. So I know that if she goes out without me, you know, I know she's going to come back safely.
1, 2, 3. Oh, big jump.
Everyone says it must be weird being husband and wife on the crew, but we don't see it as like that when we're on the boat. That we are literally crew, and that's what we're there to do. What happens at home stays at home, kind of thing.
There's a crab!
In Redcar, North Yorkshire, there's a family that have been saving lives here for generations.
The Picknets go back to living in Redcar from the early 1700s, when it was a very small fishing village. We're just the next generation, really, carrying on with something that's gone on for now almost 300 years.
Mike is passing on the legacy to his son, Luke, who joined the Redcar crew 5 years ago.
So there's Cecil, that was Tommy's uncle. It's not something that you can force somebody to do, that they either want to be part of the lifeboat or they choose not to be. Very, very proud that Luke has wanted to be part of the RLI and is.
I'm proud of the family history, and I think carrying it on is the right thing to do.
There's been a lifeboat station here since 1802. The original lifeboat, the Zetland, still lives in the old station. Its coxswain was Thomas Hood Picknett, Mike's great-great-uncle.
The Zetland is the oldest surviving lifeboat in the world, and she's still in one piece, she's still intact, and you know, you can still come and imagine what it would have been like to try and get to sea in bad weather and rescue people in this exact vessel. And so you can only be in awe when you look at it as to, you know, the things that it achieved. It saved over 500 lives.
A June day, the Coast Guard have called out the Redcar crew. Someone is trapped on a remote beach between steep cliffs and a fast-rising tide. Both of the station's inshore lifeboats are launched.
So the call had come in before high water, so we knew the tide was going to come in further. And as you looked at the tide, you realised it was one of the larger tides of the year. So the person who's in danger at this time had the misfortune to be trapped at the bottom of some of the biggest cliffs in the country at one of the highest tides of the year.
The faster Atlantic 85 boat is launched first, to get to the casualty as quickly as possible.
These types of shouts are very time critical. You realise that every second counts at this point. The biggest worry is you're going to get there and find a drowned person.
An incoming tide can overwhelm the shoreline in minutes, leaving people trapped on slivers of land at the bottom of cliffs.
Blue shoes, black pants, and a blue jumper.
Where is she? The crew fear the woman may try to get to safety on her own.
Once the tide's in, then the swim would probably be around 150, 200 metres before they can get back onto the beach, where they can then walk to safety. Cold sea, fully clothed, already under a little bit of duress because of the situation they're in. that's not something we want to recommend.
Anyone got visual yet or not?
Racing the fastest rising tide of the year, the crew must get to the woman before the sea does.
Quite often we find people, particularly in June, July, are caught out by just how cold the sea temperatures are at that time. If you're not used to the cold water shock can act within seconds of entering cold water. So if you've entered the water unexpectedly and you try and swim at that point, your body's just not capable of swimming, your muscle control goes, and if you're not you're unfortunate, you gasp in water and you will drown at that point.
24 minutes after the call, the crew arrive at Saltburn. Just a thin strip of dry land remains. Backed up against the base of the cliffs, they spot a figure.
Where the casualty was, there is no way out, so she did the right thing, summoning help by a mobile phone.
To be honest, Cam, I can't say much.
The crew need to find out if the casualty is okay, but submerged rocks mean they can't get the boat any closer to shore, and the smaller, more manoeuvrable D-class is still en route.
As the decision was made to swim in, and that was important, we needed to check on the casualty's condition.
Do you want me to go with him at all? No, you sit in the water. Keep going.
The swim ashore, it's quite cumbersome equipment. We're not the most elegant swimmers when we're in our life jacket, helmet and dry suit. When I got to the casualty, it was clear she was very distressed at this point. I sat down next to her and started reassuring her and talking to her. And I found her name was Abigail. She clearly realised that she had been in a position of quite considerable danger. The tide was coming in. She didn't know how far the tide was going to come in. Looking behind her, she would have seen cliffs that towered above her, and she had been convinced that this is how she was going to die.
Yes.
They may have found her, but with the tide still rising, the casualty isn't out of danger yet. Now on the scene, the more manoeuvrable D-class is sent in to evacuate her to safety.
Cauliflower, you're all right. Stop panicking. Just step onto there. Come on. You're all right. Go on. Go on to the Your dad's at Saltburn.
21-year-old Abigail moved to Redcar from her native New Zealand 2 years ago. She had been out running when she realised the incoming tide had trapped her.
When I realised what was actually happening, a lot of emotions went through me. First of all, I panicked. The water was coming at me and I couldn't really do anything about it. So I just thought to myself, like, gosh, like, is this it? Am I gonna die? Like, it was really scary. I was thinking about my family and how they'd feel about you being in that situation. So that's definitely something that went through my head, but I was kind of stood there thinking, I need to, like, help myself. I need to get out of this situation.
How then, Abigail? Right, see you in a bit, chaps. Right.
If we hadn't have turned up, 2 or 3 hours later, she might not have been there. She'd have been in the water. And once she's in the water, that would have been a chip's like.
I don't really like to think about what could have happened, but I definitely am lucky because it could have turned out a lot worse than it did. So just thank God and thank them for saving me. My dad was waiting for me, and I remember being so confused because when I ran up to my dad, he had a towel around him. I didn't understand why his clothes were wet. My dad had seen me on the rocks and he had literally ran towards the beach and got into the sea and, like, tried to swim out to where I was on the rocks, which was, like, crazy.
I don't think there's any father wouldn't put themselves in danger to protect their children. Our advice, of course, would always be that calling for help, through the Coast Guard and getting professional help there to do that is the actions that you should take. But if it was my daughter and I thought she was in danger, then you would do whatever you needed to do to save your children, wouldn't you?
Much like Redcar in the north, on the west coast, Weston-super-Mare is a town that prospered from the Victorians' love of the seaside. The pier and the Golden Sands still attract thousands of visitors a year, all kept safe by a 17-strong lifeboat crew.
Right, would you like to get on the boat? Yes, please.
Paul Sargent has volunteered for the Western crew for 5 years, and has been balancing dad duties with daughter Addison for almost as long.
Where are we going?
Paxton Park.
Paxton Park? How about we go out there? To the big island?
Okay, we're going.
Most challenging would probably be leaving the family, especially late at night, or if you're in the middle of something with the whole family. You've got to say goodbye and you've got to just get your game face on and go and do what you need to. So when the pager goes off, she normally comes running in.
Daddy, your page is going off. We need to go and say somebody. And then I stay with Mummy, so.
Yeah, you stay with Mummy and Daddy goes, and then I always come back, don't I?
And you give me kisses and candles.
You always got to give you kisses and cuddles, haven't we? Every time.
Across the bay from the station is one of the most dangerous parts of their patch. Breen Down is an imposing set of sandstone cliffs that in places tower almost 100 metres above the sea.
Breen Down is a large landmass that sticks out from the edge of the mainland. It's high, it's long, it used to have old sentry point on the end.
There's no guardrails on Breen Down. You can walk right up to the edge. It's a long way down.
A warm April day brings walkers out along the coastal paths. One has fallen down the cliffs on the south side of Breen Down.
Normally, if we hear south side, never is the best thing to be hearing, because you just know of the distance be falling, and you just hope that he is alive or she's alive.
An update comes in from the Coast Guard. The faller is a Labrador.
When we hear about dogs in trouble, the concern really is whether or not the owners are going to go and try and get to the dog, especially on Breen Down. It's very rocky. So the worry is that they're not really thinking about their own safety.
We just don't want the owners to go in to the water, climb down cliff faces, because we don't want to have one person and an animal in trouble. We want just to make sure we can get the animal and give it back to the owner safely.
It's a race to get to the dog before the owners try to rescue him themselves.
Luckily, a Labrador kind of stands out on a rocky outcrop of rocks, so it is quite easy to spot when you come round to the right area.
There it is.
On top of the cliff, 30 feet above, the dog's owners wait helplessly.
We come in and the dog just literally turned his head. As soon as you see that, there's a bit of relief of, right, he is alive. After heading in, I decided to send both of my crew members, just knowing that a Labrador is a big dog.
It's quite high up, so just thinking to ourselves, well, you know, how are we going to get to this dog? It was really rocky, really, really rocky.
Hey, Woody.
Dogs are not predictable. We've done a few jobs now with dogs, and they could run off the minute you get to them, or they could just sit there and want to be petted and loved. You really don't know what you're going to get with a dog.
Hello. Right, okay.
The dog was incredibly wet, so it looked like he'd had a pretty miraculous escape and landed in the water instead of landing on the rocks first. So he was pretty lucky.
Seems okay at the moment. No, there is some blood. Yeah, his paw looks like he's broken a claw.
You do look up and you think, how have you survived that? I think being a big Labrador, you must have just rolled and bounced off things and was a very lucky animal to come down safely.
The dog, Woody, survived a 30-foot fall into the sea before hauling himself out onto the ledge.
Other than that, looks like he's okay. He's cold and he's shivery, but other than that, no, he's okay.
Now all the crew must do is get him back to his worried owners.
Myself and Dave had both been to a few shouts with dogs, and it was talked about that we were becoming the dog whisperers, because it always seemed to be me and Dave going to the same sort of thing.
Easy now.
The dog was not a slim dog, no. It was quite a big dog. Yeah, very big. Made it difficult for us to get the dog down and then onto the boat.
He's a big boy. Yeah, we got him. Come on, Woody. Come on, Woody.
When he got back to the boat, he didn't want to get in. He was not getting in that boat. He needed a little bit of coaxing.
Come on, Woody. Right.
With Woody safely on board, the crew set a course to reunite him with his family.
We have the dog on board. We are now going to head round to the north side for us to be able to drop him off over. Look at that. Hello.
He seemed to really enjoy himself on that boat ride back. He didn't want to be in there to start with, but once he was on there, he was more than happy.
The dog is part of the family. It's like a child to your family. And yeah, it's the panic, the worry.
It's okay.
I ended up carrying the dog actually off the boat. He was very keen because he's actually spotted his owners further up on the side. So as soon as he saw the owners, he was ready to go.
The owners were incredibly relieved that not only was the dog safe and well, that he was coming back to them that day. The dog was incredibly lucky. It was a good day for the dog and a good day for us, really.
Of the 5,200 lifeboat crew members nationwide, around 500 are female volunteers. Based at Llanwit Major in South Wales, 18-year-old Elizabeth Hostved paved the way for women in the RNLI, qualifying to be the first trained female crew member in 1969. 140 miles away on the north coast of Wales, Dwynwen Parry has been volunteering for 20 years.
I love the sea, but I have 100% respect for it. You never know what it's going to do. I'm always cautious. I always check the weather. I think we're good friends at the moment.
Dwynwen is one of the helms at Malvra Lifeboat Station on the east coast of Anglesey, where sandy beaches, craggy cliffs and rocky coves keep the crew's two boats busy all year round.
This here is Envis, our inshore lifeboat, and this one is my baby. This boat is that's why I'm here, I think, kind of attached to it. She will be nearly 10 years old, going out to service soon. I don't cry. I'm harder than that, but I probably will in the corner. Yes, it will be sad, because 10 years is a long time. You do get attached to them.
Men and women can volunteer on inshore lifeboats until the age of 55. After 20 years of bouncing around on the inflatable D-class, Dwynwen's nearing the time to hang up her yellow boots.
Close to retiring, but I'm refusing to retire each year. I don't know why I can't walk away. It's the sea, it's the boats, and it's just being part of this family that we have here as well. And it's knowing that you're actually helping somebody out. So, yeah, I won't be leaving yet. Not for a while.
A sunny May afternoon has drawn families out to the beach. A call from the Coast Guard brings the crew running to the station.
Direct page, which ultimately means it's immediate, it's dangerous, there's life at risk. So with that, I knew that it was kind of serious.
I'll jump on the radio, find out what's going on there.
In the water 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
A young child has been swept out to sea on an inflatable dinghy.
Swam out to the dinghy to try and
We didn't have an exact location, We were told that it was Dillis Bay, which is a large expanse of water with several different popular beaches.
Do you want to get the big boat ready just in case?
Dinghies we would call our bread and butter. It's what we do kind of day in, day out. It's our most popular type of rescue. As soon as the kids get in the dinghies and get within a few hundred metres offshore, they lose the protection of the land and the wind catches them and just takes them straight offshore.
Ready when you are.
When you hear that it's kids in the water, you notch up, not just a gear, you notch up a couple of gears. Your senses are heightened. And especially having children of my own, it now adds to that pressure and that priority of getting there quickly.
At the helm, Dwynwen pushes the D-class to its top speed of 25 knots. The crew still don't have an exact location and have nearly 3 kilometres of coastline to search.
My only guess is you slip right. But if it's on his Carpinanio, I guess it's there where those hurts are.
It's time critical for us because the water's that cold. At that time of year, the water's maybe 11, 12 degrees. So when you enter the water, you initially take a big gasp where the body goes into shock, being exposed to such cold temperatures. You've got the potential then to inhale water, to take a mouthful, which then creates a reaction of its own. You start to panic.
I can't see anything ahead. There's a dinghy or something to the left there.
There's a guy on the rock there.
As they scour the beaches along the coast, there's still no sign of anyone in trouble.
It's got to be that one. I can't see no one here. There's nobody here.
You're trying to guess where they are just by the information they give you over the radio.
While the crew search, from the beach, a family friend of the boy watches as his wife and friends swim after the dinghy being pulled out to sea.
I think the thing that struck me the most was that this, in my mind, was the safest beach in the world. It was shallow, there was very little wind, the waves were just small and lapping, but yet there's this dinghy just got pulled out, and I could not understand how it happened. It just watched it sort of move away from me, and it didn't make any sense. I was utterly helpless because I could see something unfolding in front of me, but I had no ability to influence the outcome. I thought I was going to lose my wife. I had those thoughts. Yeah, and I was thinking, how am I going to cope without her? You know, in a very brief moment of time, you go through this whole scenario of life without your wife.
Probably a Coast Guard mobile, but that's all received. Can you try and ascertain as to exactly which beach they're on, which beach they're becoming to, over?
14 minutes after launching, the crew are still searching.
When we got closer, we actually passed the beach that it happened, going towards the estuary, and then we spotted them by the beach.
Yeah, it's going to be them. Make it out ready. Yeah. You all right holding the boat, Goof, yeah? Oh, yeah.
By the time the crew arrive on the beach, the 2 women who swam out have rescued the boy and managed to get back to shore.
The first thing was getting the story straight. Who'd been in the water, who needed our help.
How are you doing?
It's cold.
Extremely cold.
I feel a bit sick.
Feel a bit sick. What's your name?
Carolyn.
Carolyn. I'm Vince. Carolyn.
The boy is safe. The crew's concerns now turn to his 2 rescuers.
It was clear that the 2 ladies were our priorities.
Apart from feeling cold, do you feel well? Any chest pains?
No.
Nothing at all, you sure?
Yeah, that's good.
Just extremely cold.
With anybody that's been in the water that have made it back to shore themselves, they're not in the clear, they're not safe. First of all is hypothermia, the effects on the body following the cold water immersion.
Okay, you just try and keep your breathing nice and steady for me. You're breathing a little bit too fast for my liking.
It was quite clear that these ladies were extremely cold.
Okay, and how are you feeling?
Just weird and freezing.
Just weird and freezing. What we're going to do now, I'm going to get some blankets from the boat. We'll get you wrapped up, try and get you warm.
As I assessed the second person and Dwinwen was helping me, I realised quite quickly that they were on the border of being hypothermic.
You tell me if you start to feel faint or dizzy at all, OK?
Yeah, faint, that's right.
You're feeling faint?
I can't really, couldn't stand up or walk.
OK.
There's some severe shakes going.
Yeah. Just,
Can I have a look at me?
We see many casualties that suffer from cold water shock, but I will say that I've never experienced anybody suffer and shake as much as that lady did that day.
What's your name again? Carolyn.
Carolyn and Debbie.
Hello.
Check a cap refill again for me, Dwin.
The effect of somebody warming a hypothermic casualty up too quickly can lead to low blood pressure, but ultimately you've got the potential to cause heart attack or cardiac arrest, purely because the body just can't cope with the thermal shock or the thermal changes within the body.
Anybody who doesn't need to be around, can we just move people away? Because what we're going to have to do is just try and get rid of your wet layers, I think, and just try and get you wrapped up in as best we can.
I put my dry clothes on.
You have put your... Right, that's fine. And you've still got saturated jeans, haven't you?
Yeah. Oh,
and they're nice and cold.
Yeah.
I think you've got the energy to be able to undo your pants at the top and pull them down.
Yeah.
Or if you're not that particular, we can cut them.
Oh no.
I thought you'd react a bit more positively if I said that. Right, you keep your feet up for me while I pull it to the end of the bag.
The crew add insulating layers to slowly bring up the women's temperature.
You feeling okay at the moment, Carolyn?
Yeah.
Carolyn and her friend Debbie were spending a day on the beach with their kids and looking after a friend's son when they noticed the inflatable boat the children were playing on was being blown out to sea.
I'd said to his mum when we were coming down to the beach, "Oh, I'll look after him, you know I will, because I know him so well." And she said, yeah, she trusted me. So I was just like, oh my goodness, this is Reuben, I've got to get to him and bring him back. And I just thought, I can just wade in and get them. But the further I waded in, the more the boat kept going out. So it was just like, oh my goodness, what's happening here? So it was quite a scary situation quite quickly, really. There was one point I just thought, I can't do this is just too hard. It was just like, you're cold. And we were really shivering. I've never felt so cold, ever. My fingers went numb, my toes went numb. I was breathing too fast, but I knew that was me trying to warm up, and it just took over. That was a scary thing. Oh, it was just like you've been slapped in the face.
Suddenly stopped shivering.
I know, you've got colour back to your face now.
After 20 minutes of treatment, Carolyn and Debbie's temperature begins to return to normal.
Your cheeks have just gone nice and rosy, which is the desired effect.
With the women out of danger, Dwinwen's thoughts turn to the inflatable dinghy that caused it all.
Did you hear what she said then?
What's that?
It's giving me the right to put a knife to...
Oh, last one before you retire?
I'm retiring, so I'm going for the most dinghies that I can slash this year.
We've been out to numerous rescues that involve dinghies, and it takes seconds for the circumstance to change. You know, you can be sat on the beach, enjoying yourself, having a good time with your family, and not realise that your children in the dinghy that you've got your backs turned to are being blown offshore.
What's my record? 9 in one summer.
Go on then, don't mind.
9 times out of 10, I normally put a knife in them. They call me Slasher Parry.
Can you get the truck to there? No.
The fastest way to get the casualties to the Coast Guard vehicles to warm up is a quick trip on the lifeboat.
As well. 1, 2, 3. That's it. You keep the petticoat up.
When the lifeboat crew saw that we were well enough to be able to walk, we had to step into the sea, and that was just quite shocking.
Okay.
I forgotten how cold it was.
And you've been swimming in that? Right, come to this left-hand side.
The water was absolutely freezing. I couldn't believe that I'd been swimming in that for 20 minutes, and to just put your feet in it was just ice cold.
It just happens so easy, doesn't it? And that natural instinct is to go for a swim and try and do what you can, but...
It totally seemed like the right thing to do. Every part of my body wanted to help. I mean, how do you stay on a shore and watch your friend's child disappear onto the horizon.
I just dived in, so did you, didn't you?
Yeah.
I would never dream of going swimming at this time of year.
No.
I took the bra off though. Did you? I don't know why.
She said she didn't hesitate to jump in the water and swim, but before she did, she took her bra off. Fantastic.
The biggest mistake they perhaps made as adults was to enter the water and swim out to try and rescue their own children without the proper equipment. But was that the wrong thing to do? As a lifeboat crew, yes. As a parent, no. I think any parent would do the same.
With hindsight, I now know from the RNLI that the most sensible thing would have been to leave Reuben waiting for the lifeboat and they would have reached him. But I can't 100% say that I wouldn't do it again. I think my instinct would be exactly the same.
Spoiled, we've got 2 vehicles to put you in. Still chilly, but feeling better.
I would say they were extremely lucky. It could have been worse. The children could have been out further, even 200-300 yards further. Would she have got to them? Probably not.
Thank you guys, cheers.
The lifeboat crew saved our lives, no doubt. They may not have saved my life, but they saved my life as a family.
I don't think it'll be the first of the weekend.
Just a month after falling foul of the spring sea temperatures, Carolyn, who swam out to rescue the boy, is back on the beach for the first time since the incident.
I still think about the day. I think about Mofa a lot. I feel really connected to the place and still to the sea, really. I'd let the kids go out on boats again, definitely. But it'd have to be secure and, you know, well trained, and they had life jackets on. And but yeah, no, not another dinghy on the sea.
Across the Irish Sea in Howth, Caoimhe is also determined not to let her experience stop her enjoying the sea.
I went out, I think, a week or 2 later for my July sailing course, so it wasn't too long. I was straight back into the boat.
Can you try and get all those leaves out, Caoimhe? It was good that she did get out very quickly afterwards, and she's still as enthusiastic as she was before, even if not more. It has given a lot more respect for the sea, and you do worry again when she goes out. You don't take anything for granted anymore. You know, you check everything out, double check it before you go out, and it works as a reminder.
My leg is literally hanging off.
My concern with moving him was that he could lose the foot.
To make a decision that affects a casualty is one thing. To make a decision that could potentially affect the safety of your own crew, that's another.
I remember one wave nearly sweeping me out of the back of the boat. It was pretty scary.